Merlin Network Magic, now with Elastic, exploring Kibana. Hello everyone, my name is John Capobianco, and I thought I'd try to follow up as quick as I could to get back to the Elastic Elk stack, the ecosystem, and specifically try to play with Kibana. I got to admit I was a little overwhelmed by it at first, and I took a couple days to read some documents, watch some videos, try to absorb it, try to think about it a little bit differently. How do you present network data? Like, what would you even want to do with network data to present it? And I've had a little bit of success here. So I also want to thank everyone for the positive support and reaction, and for sharing and liking the and upvoting the video about making your own network search engine. I've written it up, in case you're just following the videos and maybe not necessarily the blog posts, on automateyournetwork.ca. I just posted all the code and an easy walkthrough on how you can make your own search engine, either with it's just with the Python, right? And PyETS and the PyETS framework and libraries, and the Elastic 14-day trial. So let's take a look at Kibana today. All right, so again, in the main dashboard in Elastic, we have our deployments, and I'm in my Merlin deployment. And we've already explored enterprise search, but we have the Kibana dashboard here, right? So we can go to Kibana, and we have an instance running of Kibana. Running, it runs 1 gig of RAM, and it's healthy, and I have an instance, and I can see the health here, and it's healthy, and it's ready to go. So let's open up the Kibana. Now I've pre-canned one dashboard because I wanted to have something ready to show everybody, but let's walk through how we do this. So I come over here to Kibana, and I haven't even looked at observability or security, right? We've tackled enterprise search. Now let's tackle Kibana, and let's go into the dashboards. Now you can see I have a dashboard that I'll come back to, but we can create a new dashboard. And then it will walk you through creating your first visualization. So you should be calling from your index pattern, and we talked about that a bit earlier, but we want to use our index pattern, which is the Nexus 9K, and then you pick the type of visualization you want, from either proportion or line and area to bar graphs to tabular and singular view. And then over here on the right, or just dropping into the main screen here, you get to pick your appropriate axes or fields that you want to display. Now I want to highlight up here at the top, we can search and it will display all kinds of great stuff here for us, the whole index. Or I can look for something like, let's say, VRF or interface or an actual interface, Ethernet. All right, so that's the search at the top. We can add filters to take this list of 4,471. Right, we could filter it at the highest level here to be just a specific field set. Or you can search here for, let's say, interfaces or interface. All right, so now that's the basic premise, and then it's really up to your imagination. And it's like, I haven't had a graphing calculator in a long time, but this is like graphing calculator high school type stuff. So let me go to the dashboard that I've already created here. Let me go to my dashboards, home. Oh, it's right here, Merlin Dashboard. Oh, actually no, hang on, I want this one, interface, but they're the same. So this is what I've put together, and what I've done is a horizontal bar graph, and I'll show you how I did this. I went into Ethernet. Let's add one that I don't have already. So I have 10, 11, 12. Let's try one in the 20 range, 1/20. All right, 1/20 bandwidth. So I'm going to add it over here as a maximum value for Ethernet 1/20, let's say, bandwidth. And I've added it down here, and I'm going to reorganize it to be up here with the physical interfaces. So what I have here is I've picked the bandwidth field for each of a variety of interfaces: physical interfaces, Ethernet series interfaces, VLAN 1's bandwidth, port channel 11's bandwidth, loopback 1's bandwidth, and the management interface bandwidth. And we could add as many interfaces as we want. And then it gives us, when you hover over it, it gives you the full, and it looks like we could name that. It has to be named. It says empty at the top there. So right now, if I go back to my save and return here, and now in my dashboards, see, yeah, I'm still getting used to this. I like this, and this is great, right? And I think they're interactive where I can uncheck them here. Yeah, so I can remove them here to isolate what's VLAN 1's bandwidth versus port channel 1's bandwidth. And if you look along the bottom, it's actually scaling. So it's moved from 0 to 100,000 on the bandwidth of port channel 11. And now it'll jump up to, a gigabit. And then it should jump up to 10 gigabits. Right? And we can bring in what's the management interface. So if we put them all back on here, and right, it's just a quick visualization. And you kind of wonder, why is a port channel the lowest? That seems like a misconfiguration to me. Why would we limit the port channel to 100 meg when we have 10 gigabit interfaces available to us? That could be a 20 gig port channel. And the loopback's got a weird bandwidth of 8 gig. Pretty cool stuff. So let's just play with it. Let's change. All right, we go to full screen here and make this just a dashboard. And these would be living and breathing. If I were to log in and change the bandwidth of one of these and push it up to the database, refresh at a natural refresh rate, these graphs would be interactive and move around and stuff. Right? You could build your own NOC dashboards right for free with nothing. Like, amazing. So let's go back and I don't know why I have two dashboards. Let's go to the interface bandwidth. And okay, so that's a bar graph, and I think if I just flip this to vertical, right? There's the vertical. That might be a better representation depending on how you like it. All right, I gotta have some water. Take a deep breath, John. Just take a deep breath. I'm getting really excited because this is just, whoever would have thought you'd have the ability to do this with network information. So what about percentage? Ooh, that's nifty. Let's, right? The thin lines here based on the percentage. Cool. What about stacked? All right, pretty neat. And I guess at the bottom axis, overwrite title. Yeah, let's overwrite the title to say interface bandwidth. There we go. That's better. And the left axis is nothing. And legend, right? Oh, I see. We can show or hide the legend. And we can move that around. Yeah. Ooh, nifty. Oh, I like that. There we go. I don't know. Maybe on the side as a list is better. Up to you. Up to you. Totally up to you. So I kind of like the vertical for this. Let's see the percentage. Yeah, I like just straight vertical. So this is probably a dashboard that I would save. Now, what about some of these other ones? An area graph. I don't know. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Kind of neat. Showing you your milestones. And then there's a percentage. I assume that's just going to, yeah. Huh. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. I'm trying not to be slack-jawed and quiet. I'm going to try to talk through this. This is a line. It's going to readjust for a line graph here. Let's see what this one looks like. This should be like the stock market view, right? Or did it regenerate as a line? Refresh the screen, maybe? Not what I expected. I sort of expected them to climb up there from 0, but that's okay. And okay, so I'm getting warnings about these. Yeah, okay, so donut and they're not, it's not the right type of data to make those out of it. Okay. So let me just cancel that, confirm. And let me save it as a vertical. I kind of like the vertical better. Interface dashboard. I'm going to change it to a bar vertical. And I'm going to save it. All right, now we can do lots of neat things here. I just want to see if I can. I don't want both of them. I don't know why I have 2 of them on this screen anymore. And I see it changed the. I didn't change that axis view. All right, let me deal with. There we go. Refresh, switch to view mode. Keep changes. There we go. That's better. And then I need to change the y-axis description on this one. I'm just sort of trying to. How do I get back into the? Here we are. And then I need to change this to be interface bandwidth. Okay. Now I will save and return, and then I will have the 1 dashboard. No, I see I got 2 again. Don't like that. I don't know why that's doing that. I must have something I've missed. Get rid of one of these. And now that's over there. Come on. Okay, save, switch to view mode. All right, now let's, the problem that I would do counters with real data, but I'm going to have to run some data through some interfaces. I don't know, all the counters are at 0 right now. So let me stop the video here. I'll spin up the sandbox. I don't even have the sandbox up right now. I'll get the sandbox going and maybe see if I can get some traffic through some of the interfaces or something. Get some counter information to go up somehow. And then repopulate the elastic. And actually, while I have it up, I might change one of these fields and see if this is dynamic or not. So yeah, I've got a couple more things to do, but let me stop there and I'll be back soon. All right, thanks. Okay, everybody, I am back and I have some pretty cool things to show you and to explore. I've learned something very, very important that I'm going to highlight next and before we move on to making some more dashboards. But originally, and someone brought this up in Twitter or something, asking me about timestamps. And they've turned out to be very important and something that we have to add ourselves. And I have a bit of a way around this, or a solution to this, that's actually opened up a whole new capability inside of Kibana. Now, I think in older versions, timestamp was something, or you can add it to your own schemas or different things. What I've chosen to do, and I'll show you this in Python, and I'll be pushing this into the repository so that this is part of the Merlin for Elastic. Let me get rid of these files. I don't need these anymore. I'm doing some development to try to figure out how to do this properly. So what I've done is I've added 2 sections, which is just the same as the same as these sections here, where I post and put to the Elastic. But what I've decided to do is at the very top of this, create something called timestamp, and go ahead and add a timestamp under the index. So now we'll have a table ID of timestamp with the timestamp. So what I do is timestamp equals, and then I need this to be JavaScript object notation. So I have it as timestamp in quotes with the colon and then a variable, and then I pass it json.dumps, and then the date time now, get rid of microseconds in the ISO format. This took a little bit of development time, but I have a valid JSON timestamp here, which I just go ahead as part of the operation now and stamp the index with a time. And you'll see why that's important in a second. So let's hop back over to the dashboards here, and I'm going to go into the dashboard and Merlin Dashboard. Now, here is why the timestamp. Now, I want to be open and honest. I don't know why this isn't working. It should work unless I've missed something. But what you can see is now that I have a timestamp, this is from a day ago until now with 30-minute polling intervals. And my intention on here, you can see rate is the vertical axis, is to have the maximum counters for in and out on an interface. So let's take a look at this. I've been messing with this for a while and I just can't seem to figure out what I've done wrong. But we'll come back and look at this timestamp. So now that I've added the timestamp, and let me show you the index here. So I re-indexed after I added the timestamp, and now you can see we have a timestamp that is a type of date, and it's searchable and aggregatable. So now we have a timestamp field with the timestamp as of the last time Merlin ran as part of our index that lets me choose it as a horizontal axis here. And I pick a date histogram. So this wasn't available to me before. It's really cool. This date histogram was not in my functions, I don't think, or I don't remember seeing it as a horizontal axis or vertical axis until I added the timestamp as a field. So you can see selected field, and it actually has a little calendar beside it because it's a date, right? So that's perfect. I pick that, and then I pick my interval, and I can say every hour or every 30 minutes or days or whatever. Let's make it 1 hour. So every hour from, and then up here you pick your relative time or your absolute time. I've just made it from a day ago. Let me try an hour ago. Maybe it's just too big. Update. Just wondering why I'm not seeing. Yeah, see no data found from an hour ago. What about 6 hours ago? I'm just wondering if maybe the chart's too big and I'm losing my data. That maybe they are on here and I just don't see them. I don't know. What if I pick a... Here, what about this? What about an area stacked? Is that going to work? No. See, I'm not getting my... And here's the funny thing. If I delete, I'm going to save this. Let me save it, and then I'll go back and edit it again. I just don't want to lose that because it took me a while. To get this to work. So let me go back to edit lens. And so look, how I know this works is if I clear out, right, there's my rates. There. So I don't know why they're not being plotted when I add the data histogram. Crazy. So anyway, I don't want to get hung up on that. Let's just save this and let's make a new visualization. And I'll show you why I want to do this is because, and actually, you know what? Just because it's not working, let me just get rid of the timestamp for now so that I have these two values here like this. And because it's not very good as a line graph, let's make it a stacked horizontal bar. Well, let's just see now that I get rid of timestamp. What is it? What are the areas? Yeah, see, I need more there. So I can do vertical stacked. Yeah, this will make for a good... I see. So out of 100%, right, which one has more input or output? That's not a bad little visualization. Let's save that one. And that's actually not rate anymore. Yeah, that's input and output rate. Huh, all right, let's save that. And let's make a new one with a different field. Okay, so again, let's try to add a new function. Now, I've tried a few different things, and I don't really want to, I don't mind learning in public, but it's no good to show you things that don't work. But I did get a couple of things working, and some of them are a little bit simple, but valuable, I think, from a, possible knock perspective or monitoring or management. Now, I like this one that's just called metric. And we just get to, we pick our field, and we get to pick which we want here. The average or the count or the maximum. So let's just try the maximum, and we're going to pick the management. Again, I only have a few packets with stuff on them. Let's do the input packets. And the maximum is, and we can change the label on this and say, interface management 0 maximum input. And that's our input packet counter. I guess we could just say current. If that's the maximum, that's just going to keep climbing. Right? So even though we're using maximum there, I guess what about last value? Sort by timestamp. That might be interesting to do the last value. But again, it's not having great results with this timestamp. Maybe I've done something wrong with my format of the timestamp or something. I'll see if I can get some support on that tomorrow. But let's just go with, what about average? Yeah, I don't know. Let's just do maximum for now. I guess it doesn't really look like it matters. We can just say, interface input packets. So if there was some interface that you wanted to track, I just pick counters input packets. And if we save this and return, I didn't give, now I'll give it a title here. Management interface input packets. So now let's run some stuff. Let's send a bunch of pings through there. Oh, and this is why I wanted to add the other function. Oh, and I didn't, yeah, this went back to the time. Let me edit this lens and get rid of the timestamp and change this to the stacked. And let's make it the percentage. Okay, we can see the current percentage, save and return. And hopefully, now this top left panel won't change. These values won't change. These are static bandwidth values. But here, just for posterity, the maximum output rate, 83%, and the maximum of the input rate is 16% of 100%. And the input packets is 62,579. So this is all done. And let's refresh the screen here. Let me save this and then refresh the screen. And let's see if our numbers changed. Let me run this again. And let me change this to be right now. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, let me do that. I'm pretty sure I have a screenshot of them being dynamic earlier. Let me make sure that I actually ran Merlin. That seemed to be a little quick. Yeah, let me just try this again. I'm pretty sure these things will be dynamic and actually change to reflect the latest data set. Now that let me change this just to now. Okay, so here's all the posts happening and the puts. In theory, once learned interface is done, I should be able to refresh the screen since that's where I'm pulling it from. But let's just let Merlin finish, and then I'll refresh the screen. Now, I've tried a few other file types. I haven't quite got the hang of it yet. I think once I figure out the timestamp, I'll be able to do a lot more with this. But some of the charts and graph types, I haven't quite figured out the indexing or how to make them quite work yet. Let's refresh the screen. And I'm hoping for new numbers. And hey, look at new numbers. And this all adjusted, 61 and 38% and 84,000 input packets. Hey, pretty neat, right? Now, I mean, we just keep going on and on with visualizations, but let me stop with visualizations and explore some other things. Again, I am just scratching the surface. I had a look at canvases. Okay, we're going to explore canvases, but I have to point out the obvious here. The background is different. I've moved rooms in my house. It's pretty warm and hot in my office, and I just moved my rig down to my basement, so it's a little cooler, and the lighting really isn't that great down here, but I'll try to deal with that later. Anyway, let's get back to the video. So we were going to look at canvases. And so we're going to click on Canvas. Now I've loaded a sample canvas, and let's take a look at this. But think of canvases as like, I hate to say PowerPoint, but it's like PowerPoint except just like a next-gen version that calls from. So this is, right, we have a total sales, the graph, revenue by day, sales production, category, right, shoes, clothing. And this is like made pre-canned with pre-canned data. So let's take a look at our canvas. So I've hopped back into the dashboard real quick. I want to point something out that wasn't quite so obvious to me. And so this interface bandwidth is in what's known as the library. So let's just to make these available in our library, we're going to go to more here and say save to library, management interface rate, sure. And then more, save to library, management interface, input packets, okay. So now, if we go into our canvases, it will take us to our canvas work pads, where we're going to create a work pad. Now hopefully, yeah, good, it jumps me right into the work pad. So let's just say, right, Nexus 9K, and here we can set the width and height, the letters, the A4, right, the variables, the CSS overrides, if we want to do our own cascading style sheet, the element statuses, and if we want a background or not. So then let's go ahead and add an element from Kibana, and we can pick from those that we've put in the library, right? And we're just going to add all the elements here. Oh, I see it stacked them. Let me move it there. All right. Okay. So, right, we have this last 15 minutes, the interface packets. We have the bandwidth configurations, and then let's add the management rate. I did that again. All right. Yeah, I see. All right. Anyway, you kind of get the idea, and this is just clunky, right? What I think would be neat is if we put and we can do this, I can add an element, an image, and let's upload this, right? I could add a Nexus 9K, and then have call-outs and arrows from the interfaces with their input rates or whatever you think of, right? Like this is, I'm just playing, this is totally neat and fun though. Like what a cool tool. And I think, and I know, if I rerun the code, these numbers and things will change and update, right? It's like a living PowerPoint presentation that we can share, right as JSON. That's cool. We can set it up as a PDF report, or we can share it on a website. It's just incredible. And I've just scratched the surface with a couple simple little clicks here. So that's canvases, and then I get my different canvases, right? And we can even import a WorkPad JSON file if people make them open source, let's say, in this evolving world. If I make a nice canvas WorkPad, well, why not save it as JSON and put it up on the GitHub repo, and people can start to build their own dashboards from an open source solution, right? Okay, so that's cool. Now let's, again, this is the first time I've ever clicked on maps. All right, so we could overlay stuff on the map, I see, and we could have different layers. All right, so like a physical view of our network and our different data centers and things like that with living, breathing information. And I don't know how, wow, this is intense. So we could zoom in and then like place those routers on. Does it work the way I think it is? Like, can I add an element to this thing? Add a layer. Huh. Wow. Point-to-point data pass between sources. Vector tiles, all kinds of neat things that we can add to this. What about for my Elasticsearch? Point-to-point documents. Tracks. References, different solutions. Select an index pattern. All right, my Nexus 9K does not contain any geospatial fields. All right, so this is sort of like when I added the timestamp. If I include geospatial fields in my index pattern, if I add a JSON like location in my in JSON somehow, it looks like we could link, you know, this router is here in Ottawa and then include geospatial fields. Pretty neat, really. DNA centers like this, right, where it's geographical based and you build your sites and your buildings and your floors. Looks like you could do something similar with Elastic here. Now, let's check out machine learning. I want to look at graph too, but let's see what machine learning is all about, right? ML, AI-driven ML. That's what I'm looking to do, is add that tagline to my open source project that I have. Create your first anomaly detection job. Easy, very good. So like we could feed this in, and then say if the CRC error is greater than 0, maybe that's an anomaly. Is that the kind of stuff we're talking about here? There are no ML nodes available. You will not be able to create or run jobs. Please edit your Elastic Cloud deployment. You may enable a free 1 gig machine learning node or expand on your, well, I don't want to get into deployment stuff in this video, but let's just take the cookie crumb here. So I guess what I have to do is create a deployment. Yeah, billing details. Maybe later. Maybe later. Okay, so that's locked out to me right now. Maybe I'll pay for something. We'll see. I have to talk to finance about that, meaning my partner, my wife at home here, to see if the budget can afford more money into the open source project, right? Didn't you launch this open source project to make money somehow, not spend money? So let's go back and let's look at graph. This might be fun too, and I think I get graph. I don't want the sample data. Well, actually here, just hang on. Let's look at the sample data and see what kind of graphs they come up with here. Okay, so it's kind of like those network graphs that I make. Yeah, it is. It's a network graph. Men's accessories, clothing. So I'm making these in Merlin, but it's kind of neat that we can make them from our Kibana data center, data sources as well. Let's see if it gives us the option to make a new graph here. So we're going to click on Create Graph, and I'm used to doing this with raw JSON, so this is actually kind of nice to be able to click and drag and drop and point to make a network graph. And I haven't quite figured this out, obviously. I'm just clicking into it now, but it looks pretty easy. I haven't been able to make a graph yet, though, so we're going to select a data source, pick our DevNet sandbox, and then we just add our fields. But I can't seem to get them to link the way I think they should, or the way I would like them to. I don't know, like let's try trunk. So these all should have the same keywords. And I don't know if they should link together, right? So then enter a query in the search bar to start exploring. Don't know where to start. Graph the top terms. So I could try graph the top terms here, or I could just try graph. This is a bit of a roll of the dice. Let's try top terms. And okay, so they've appeared and they're floating and moving around. And they have the display label. Okay, but why didn't they link together? They're all the same value. Or do I need to provide like the parent interfaces and then these link together? I don't know. And then I tried this add links between existing terms. And they sort of move a bit, but they don't do much. Now, if we look at inspect, it gives us, it's pretty interesting, it gives us the JavaScript up here of the network graph below in just a second. Or if we do is it under response? And we can change the certainty. Maybe if I lower the certainty down to 1. Block list, drill downs, raw documents. Pretty cool. We can add all this stuff. Toolbar icons, add a drill down. We can make a full graph, a full interactive network graph here with these network data settings. I don't know why I'm not getting the inspect. Maybe this is a browser thing. Anyhow, I don't want to waste a lot of time. Explore network graph. I'm certainly going to be spending a lot of time learning this whole ecosystem. Is there anything we haven't inspected yet? I guess visualize library, but we already have the library. We've looked at enterprise search already. There's some observability, some security, management, a whole different set of tools here. So that was dashboards and canvases and graphs. Kind of have a sense of what we could do with machine learning. That would be pretty cool. And we can make full-blown geographical maps as well. Definitely worth exploring this suite of tools. Again, I have a 14-day trial, and I'm going to just try to maximize as much as I can, squeeze as much out of that as I can. And then, you know, I likely need to spin up my own Docker containers of Elasticsearch and Kibana on my own machine as containers, which will be another interesting video series when we get there. Over the next couple weeks, I'm going to maybe take some of the online courses that they offer and see if I can get some of those graphs and maps and other dashboards maximized and connected and working. I'm certainly going to have to revisit the timestamp issue that I'm having. I'm not really getting horizontally crawling timestamp logs. And I don't know if that's because of the format of my timestamp. Possibly. That's what I'm sort of thinking. Maybe it's not a valid Kibana timestamp structure. So if I can figure that out, the correct structure of time that's expected, maybe I'll resolve that. And if I do get that working, I'll certainly patch that into the repository. So thanks for joining me. There's much more videos to come. I'm really enjoying this. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, you have your own solutions, feel free to post them here in the YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever you need. AutomateYourNetwork.ca and github.com/automateyournetwork/Merlin. Stay safe, everybody.